In the silent gulf between stars, where the warmth of the sun has long faded into memory, two ancient machines drift farther than any human eyes will ever see. Voyager 1 and Voyager 2, humanity's oldest ambassadors to the cosmic wilderness, were expected to die quietly in the dark. Instead, they became the source of a mystery no one on Earth was prepared for. Their whispers, those faint telemetry signals crossing billions of kilometers, began to change. It began with Voyager 1 sending home what looked like a harmless flicker in its data stream. Engineers almost dismissed it as routine interference, the sort of static caused by cosmic rays smacking into aging circuitry. But then one analyst noticed something unsettling. The flicker wasn't random. It repeated. It shifted. It moved. Not like debris tumbling in zero gravity, but like a reflection bending along a path, accelerating with precision. Moments later, Voyager's plasma sensors recorded a disturbance that made no sense. Something was altering its motion intentionally. Space objects don't steer themselves. They don't change velocity without thrust. Yet this one did, smoothly, silently, as if guided by an invisible hand. The team ran through every natural explanation: asteroid, dust cloud, comet fragment. Every theory failed. Weeks passed, and skepticism finally cracked when Voyager 2, millions of miles away, detected the exact same phenomenon. The same magnetic fluctuations. The same plasma pulses. The same rhythmic signatures that didn't belong to any natural source. Two independent spacecraft, built in the 1970s, separated by incomprehensible distance, were seeing the same impossible thing. Suddenly this wasn't local. It wasn't random. And it definitely wasn't a malfunction. As analysts compared both data streams, something far more disturbing emerged. The objects were not alone. There weren't 10 or 20 or even 100. There were over 300 of them, moving together in perfect formation. They maintained exact spacing, synchronized curves, and mirrored shifts in direction as though obeying a shared command. Nothing in nature behaves like that. Nothing drifts with flawless discipline for millions of kilometers. And then came the pulses. Each object emitted faint bursts of plasma in patterns so mathematically ordered that even the most skeptical physicists had to admit they resembled language. Not a language humans could speak, but a structured exchange, timed, coordinated, intentional. As the swarm glided past Voyager 1, a sudden magnetic wave struck the craft. Instantly, its subsystems began behaving strangely. Old memory banks flickered online, channels long abandoned since the Cold War years reactivated, and Voyager began transmitting through circuits nobody had touched since launch. It still obeyed commands from Earth, but its behavior hinted at something else, an internal shift triggered by contact with the swarm. Back on Earth, amateur radio hobbyists began picking up peculiar static pulses that matched the Voyager's anomaly windows. Signals so faint they shouldn't have made it through Earth's ionosphere, yet somehow they did. Intelligence agencies monitored the reports quietly, unsure whether these signals were bouncing from our atmosphere or bleeding directly through from deep space. Scientists scoured decades of archived mission data, desperately looking for a precedent, any sign this had happened before. Nothing. Not from Pioneer, not from New Horizons, not from any probe ever launched. It was as though these objects had simply appeared in our cosmic peripheral vision. But no one could shake the suspicion that they might have always been there, hidden, dormant, or deliberately quiet until now. And that thought led to one question no one wanted to speak aloud. What woke them up? As the weeks unfolded, something remarkable and unnerving happened. The formation of 305 objects began behaving like a coherent network. Their plasma pulses repeated in perfect intervals, echoing quantum entanglement patterns, structures humans only observe in cutting-edge lab experiments. It was as if each object acted as a node in a vast interstellar web, communicating instantaneously across unimaginable distances. Voyager 1 and 2, with their outdated, noise-free analog systems, became ideal receptors, ancient ears tuned to frequencies modern instruments drowned out. The idea that humanity just happened to have two working probes in the right locations at the right moment felt too perfect to be coincidence. And yet, the alternative was far more unsettling. What if the probes were meant to hear this? Earth's scientific community sat divided between fear and awe. If the swarm was artificial, then humanity was witnessing technology thousands, maybe millions, of years ahead of ours. Machines that traveled without engines. Objects that surfed along the foam of spacetime itself. Structures that maintained formation better than any aircraft squadron on Earth. And above all, communication so efficient it bypassed physical distance entirely. But if the swarm was natural, if some unknown cosmic mechanism produced this behavior, then the universe contained systems far beyond human physics. Forces we had never theorized. Patterns we didn't understand. And rules that made our scientific confidence look painfully naive. Things grew stranger when Voyager 2 recorded something Voyager 1 never did, a directed pulse. It wasn't random. It wasn't part of the swarm's internal chatter. It aimed directly at the spacecraft. The timing was too perfect. The frequency too precise. The pulse hit, the craft shuddered electronically, and suddenly its orientation sensors shifted by a fraction of a degree, as if nudged. On Earth, the signal created chaos. Had the swarm scanned Voyager? Modified it? Was the probe now broadcasting something new? Analysts triple-checked the data. Engineers swore nothing like this was possible without physical contact. But the recordings didn't lie. Something out there had touched Voyager, not physically, but through the most delicate manipulation of fields and particles. As panic simmered privately within agencies and observatories, the public remained blissfully unaware. NASA issued no announcements. The anomalies were classified under a rarely used internal category reserved for unexplainable cosmic events that could trigger geopolitical instability. Behind closed doors, a single fear dominated every discussion. If these objects had been traveling for millions of years, why did they reveal themselves now? And why to us? The swarm continued drifting, never altering course toward Earth, never slowing, never accelerating beyond its silent glide. If they were probes, they showed no interest in our worlds. If they were watchers, they revealed nothing of their intentions. If they were messengers, their message remained locked behind a language of plasma and spacetime. But then came the final twist. As the swarm moved fully past the Voyagers, the pulse patterns shifted. The rhythm changed. The intervals shortened. Analysts noticed a repeating structure, one that matched, with eerie similarity, the timing sequence of the Voyager's own carriers. It was as though the swarm was not just communicating with itself anymore but synchronizing with the probe's frequencies. And then, almost as if acknowledging the moment, the pulses ceased. For the first time in weeks, the data stream went silent, unnaturally silent. What remains now is speculation and dread. Did the swarm finish whatever it was doing? Did it send something? Did it receive something? Or did it simply confirm our existence and move on? Out there, in the deep cold where no human will ever set foot, two ancient machines drift on. They are no longer just explorers. They are witnesses, perhaps even participants, in something far older and far larger than humanity. And somewhere in the quiet dark, the line between observer and observed has blurred forever.